The station smelled like rust and fear. Yuna walked through the crowded halls with her face hidden under a dark hood. She was not supposed to be here. Officers of the Valari Empire did not visit black markets. They did not walk among criminals and slavers. But Yuna had stopped caring about rules a long time ago. She was tall, even for her kind. Her skin was covered in small, smooth scales, the color of deep ocean water. Her eyes were golden and sharp. When she looked at someone, they felt it like a blade against their throat. Most people looked away quickly. The auction hall was underground. Yuna paid the entry fee and found a spot in the shadows near the back. The room was filled with buyers from dozens of species. Some were fat merchants looking for cheap labor. Some were cruel-faced nobles looking for entertainment. All of them disgusted her. The auctioneer was a thin creature with too many arms. He spoke in a high, excited voice as he brought out the merchandise. First came a group of small aliens with big eyes. They were sold quickly. Then came a muscular beast man with broken horns. He went to a mining company. Then came the humans. There were 5 of them. They were chained together at the wrists and ankles. Their clothes were torn. Their bodies were thin. They had been starved. Yuna had seen humans before, but only in military reports. Her people considered them weak. They had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. They lived short lives and died easily. The Valari Empire had conquered several human colonies in the past decade. Most humans were killed or captured. The captured ones ended up in places like this. The first 4 humans were sold without much interest. They were older, tired, broken completely. Then the auctioneer pulled the last one forward. He was young, maybe 20 or 22 years by human counting. His hair was black and messy. His skin was pale and covered in bruises. He was thin, but Yuna could see that he had once been healthy, strong even. His wrists were raw from the chains, but it was his eyes that caught her attention. They were dark brown, almost black, and they were not empty. They were not broken. There was something burning inside them, something that refused to die. The auctioneer grabbed the young man by his hair and pulled his head up. The human did not cry out. He did not beg. He just stared straight ahead with that quiet fire in his eyes. "This one is young," the auctioneer announced. "Good for labor. Good for other things too, if you understand my meaning." He laughed. Some of the buyers laughed with him. A fat merchant in the front row made a joke. "Humans break so easily. What use is this skinny thing?" The young man turned his head. He looked directly at the merchant, and then he did something that made the whole room go silent. He smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had nothing left to lose. Someone who had seen the worst and survived. Someone who was daring the universe to try harder. The merchant stopped laughing. He looked away first. The auctioneer cleared his throat nervously. "Yes, well, this one still has some spirit. Dangerous, perhaps. We recommend breaking him properly before putting him to work." Yuna felt something move in her chest. She did not understand it. Her people were not emotional. They made decisions based on logic and benefit. There was no logical reason to buy this human. He was damaged, defiant, probably more trouble than he was worth. She raised her hand anyway. 5,000 credits, she said. Her voice was calm and cold. The room turned to look at her. A Valari officer bidding on a human slave? That was unusual. That was interesting. Another buyer raised the price, then another. Yuna kept bidding. She did not know why. She only knew that she could not let this human go to someone who would destroy that fire in his eyes. The final price was 23,000 credits. Far too much for a single human. The other buyers shook their heads and muttered about crazy Valari. Yuna did not care. She paid and received the ownership chip. Then she walked to the stage where the young man stood waiting. Up close, She could see the scars on his arms. Old burns. Whip marks. He had been tortured. He looked up at her. His eyes studied her face. He was trying to understand what kind of monster had bought him. What new horrors awaited him. Yuna reached out. He flinched, expecting a blow. Instead, she pressed the release button on his chains. They fell to the ground with a heavy clang. The young man stared at his free wrists. "Come with me," Yuna said. "My ship is docked in Bay 7. She turned and walked away. She did not grab him. She did not threaten him. She simply expected him to follow. He did. He had no other choice. The walk to the ship was silent. Yuna could feel him watching her back, waiting for the trap, waiting for the cruelty. Her ship was a medium-sized cruiser, military design. She had a small crew of 12. They stared as she walked up the boarding ramp, with a human following behind her. Commander Hyun, her second in command, approached with confusion on his face. "A new crew member," Yuna said simply. "Prepare a private room for him, small, but clean. And bring food. Human food. If we have any." Hyun wanted to ask more questions. He was smart enough to stay silent. Yuna led the young man to a small cabin near the cargo bay. It was simple. A bed, a small table, a door with a lock. "This is yours," she said. "The lock works from the inside. No one will enter without your permission." The young man finally spoke. His voice was rough, damaged from screaming or from silence. She could not tell. "Why?" he asked. Yuna considered the question. She did not have a good answer. Not one that made sense. "What is your name?" she asked instead. He hesitated. Names had power. Giving his name meant giving her something to use against him. But something in her golden eyes made him take the risk. "Taeho," he said. "My name is Taeho." Yuna nodded. "Taeho, you are on my ship now. You will not be harmed here. You will not be sold. You will not be chained. Do you understand?" He did not understand. He did not believe her. But he nodded anyway. Yuna turned and walked away. At the door, she paused. "Rest," she said. "Tomorrow, we leave this place behind." The door closed. Taeho stood alone in the small room. He looked at the bed, the clean sheets, the lock on the door. Then he sat down on the floor in the corner, pulled his knees to his chest, and waited for the nightmare to begin. 3 weeks passed. Taeho did not speak. Every morning, Yuna left food outside his door. Simple things. Bread, fruit, clean water. She learned from the ship's database what humans could eat. She made sure the meals were warm and fresh. Every morning, she knocked once and walked away. Every evening, she returned to find the empty plates outside the door. He was eating. But only when no one was watching. Yuna understood. Trust was not something that could be forced. It had to be grown slowly, like a plant in poor soil. She was patient. Her people lived for 300 years. She had time. Her crew did not understand. "Captain, this is madness," Commander Hyun said one night on the bridge. "We are feeding a human who does nothing. He takes up space. He uses resources. What is the point?" Yuna did not look up from her navigation charts. "The point is not your concern, Commander. But the crew is talking. They say you have gone soft. They say, let them talk." Yuna's voice was quiet but sharp. "I am still the captain of this ship. My decisions are not open for discussion." Hyun knew when to stop. He bowed his head and returned to his station. But Yuna could feel the doubt spreading among her crew. A Valari captain showing kindness to a human slave? It was unheard of. It was weakness. Her people respected only strength. She did not care. She had stopped caring about what her people thought a long time ago. Taeho spent most of his time in his small room. Sometimes, Yuna checked the internal cameras to make sure he was still alive. She saw him sitting in the corner, staring at the walls, sleeping on the floor even though there was a bed. He was waiting. waiting for the punishment, waiting for the truth to reveal itself. It broke something inside her to watch him like this. On the 15th day, she noticed something different. He was standing at the small window in his room. The window showed the stars outside. His hand was pressed against the glass. He looked so small against the endless darkness of space. That night, Yuna made a decision. She walked to his room and knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again. Taeho, I am not coming inside. I just want to talk. Through the door. Silence. You do not have to answer. Just listen. She leaned against the wall beside his door. The metal was cold against her scales. I know you do not trust me. I know you are waiting for the pain to start. I understand. You have been hurt by many people. Why would I be different? She paused. She could hear nothing from inside the room. I cannot prove anything with words. Words are cheap. Anyone can make promises. So I will not make promises. I will just tell you facts. Thanks for watching. I will not make promises. She took a breath. Fact. You are not my property. The ownership chip was destroyed the moment we left the station. Legally, you are a free person on this ship. You can leave whenever we dock at a civilized port. Fact. No one on this ship will touch you without your permission. I have made this very clear to my crew. Anyone who breaks this rule will answer to me. Fact. I do not want anything from you. Not labor. Not service. Not anything else. You owe me nothing. She stopped talking. The silence stretched out between them. Then, slowly, she heard footsteps. The door opened just a crack. One dark eye peered out at her. Taeho's voice was barely a whisper. Why? It was the same question he had asked before. She still did not have a good answer. Because I wanted to, she said simply. Because when I saw you on that stage, I saw something I recognized. Something I thought had died in me a long time ago. What? Yuna met his eye through the crack in the door. The refusal to break. Taeho was quiet for a long moment. Then the door opened a little wider. I had a sister, he said. His voice cracked on the words. Her name was June. We were on a colony ship together. The Valari attacked. They took everyone. They separated us. Yuna felt her heart grow heavy. She knew what happened to captured humans. The markets. The mines. The worst places. Do you know where she is? Yuna asked. No. Taeho's hand gripped the edge of the door. His knuckles were white. They told me she was sold to someone else. That I would never see her again. Taeho's hand. Who told you this? The men who hurt me. They said it to make me suffer. They laughed when I cried. Yuna's golden eyes hardened. A cold anger burned in her chest. She felt it, anyway. Tell me everything you remember, she said. Every detail, every name, every location. Taeho looked confused. Why? What? Because I am going to find her. He stared at her. For the first time, something other than fear and suspicion appeared in his eyes. Something fragile and dangerous. Hope. You cannot, he whispered. The trafficking networks are huge. They span dozens of systems. Even your military cannot. I am not the military, Yuna said. I am something else, and I have resources they do not. She extended her hand. An open palm. An invitation. Tell me about your sister. Tell me about yourself. Tell me everything. And I will do what I can. Taeho looked at her hand. He had been burned by every hand that had ever reached for him. Every touch had brought pain. Every kindness had been a trap. But something in Yuna's golden eyes was different. Something real. Slowly, carefully, he reached out. His fingers touched her palm. Her scales were cool and smooth. Strange, but not unpleasant. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. That night, they sat in the corridor outside his room. Taeho talked. He told her about his home planet, about his family, About Jian, who was 2 years younger and loved to sing. About the attack. About the chains. About the horrors he had survived. Yuna listened to everything. She did not interrupt. She did not judge. She simply listened. When he finished, the ship was quiet. Most of the crew was asleep. The stars moved slowly past the windows. "I will find her," Yuna said again. "I do not know how long it will take, but I will find her." Taeho looked at her. Tears were drying on his cheeks. He had not cried in months. He had thought he had forgotten how. "Why do you care?" he asked. "I am just a human. Your people hate us." Yuna considered the question. Then, she said something that surprised even herself. "I do not know. But I look at you, and I feel something I cannot explain. Something that tells me you are worth saving. That your sister is worth saving. That maybe, in saving you, I can save something in myself too." Taeho did not fully understand, but he nodded. For the first time in a very long time, he did not sleep on the floor. He climbed into the small bed, pulled the blanket over himself, and closed his eyes. And for the first time in months, he did not dream of chains. Yuna was on the bridge when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across every screen. The ship shook as something hit the hull. "Report!" she shouted. Commander Hyun's fingers flew across his console. 3 ships. Pirate signatures. They came out of the asteroid field. We did not see them. Until it was too late. Another explosion. The ship tilted hard to the left. Yuna grabbed the captain's chair to stay on her feet. "Shields at 60%. Another crew member called out. "They are trying to board us." Yuna's mind worked quickly. 3 ships. Her cruiser was fast, but not fast enough to outrun them while taking damage. They would have to fight. "All hands, battle stations," she commanded. "Prepare for close combat. They want our cargo. They will try to take the ship intact." She turned to Hyun. "The human. Taeho. Lock down his section. Keep him safe. Taeho. Taeho. Taeho." Hyun nodded and sent the command. Yuna pulled her plasma pistol from its holster and ran toward the main airlock. If the pirates were boarding, she would meet them personally. The corridors were chaos. Her crew members rushed past her with weapons drawn. The ship groaned as the pirate vessels attached themselves to the hull. She could hear the cutting torches burning through the metal. Then the airlock exploded inward. Pirates poured through the hole. They were a mixed group. Some were large reptilians, like her own people. Some were smaller, faster species. All of them were armed and hungry for blood. Yuna fired. Her first shot took down the lead pirate. Her second and third dropped 2 more. But they kept coming. The fighting spread through the ship. Her crew was trained, but the pirates had numbers on their side. Yuna found herself pushed back, fighting in the narrow corridors. She took a hit to her shoulder. The pain was sharp and hot. Blue blood, the color of Valari blood, ran down her arm. She ignored it and kept fighting. Then she heard the scream. It came from the cargo section, near Taeho's room. Yuna's heart stopped. The lockdown had failed, or the pirates had found a way around it. She ran. The cargo section was dark. Emergency lights flickered. Bodies lay on the floor. Some were pirates. Some were her crew. She stepped over them and kept moving. She found them near the storage containers. A huge pirate, nearly 7 feet tall with tusks growing from his jaw, stood over one of her crew members. It was Soren, the young engineer. He was wounded and crawling backward, trying to escape. The pirate raised his weapon, a heavy blade designed to cut through armor. "Time to die, little lizard," the pirate growled. Then something hit him from behind. Taeho came out of the shadows like a ghost. He had no weapon, no armor, just his bare hands and the desperate courage of a man with nothing left to lose. He jumped on the pirate's back and wrapped his arms around the creature's throat. The pirate roared and spun around, trying to throw him off. Yuna raised her pistol, but she could not get a clear shot. The two bodies were tangled together. The pirate reached back and grabbed Teho by the hair. He pulled hard and threw the human to the ground. Teho hit the metal floor with a terrible sound. The pirate turned and raised his blade. A human? You attack me. Human? I will gut you slowly. Teho tried to stand. His leg was twisted. He could not rise. But he grabbed a piece of broken metal from the floor and held it in front of him like a knife. Come on then, he said. His voice was steady. No fear, just cold determination. I have survived worse than you. The pirate laughed and swung his blade. The plasma bolt hit him in the center of his chest. He stopped, looked down. Then, he fell forward, dead before he hit the ground. Yuna walked forward, her pistol still smoking. She kicked the body aside and knelt beside Teho. You fool, she said. Her voice was harsh, but her hands were gentle as she checked his wounds. He was going to kill Soren, Teho said. He winced as she touched his injured leg. I could not just watch. You have no training, no weapons. He could have killed you in one blow, but he did not. Yuna stared at him. This small, fragile human. This creature that her people considered weak and worthless. He had thrown himself at a monster twice his size, to save someone he barely knew. Why? She asked. The question came out before she could stop it. Teho looked at her. Despite the pain, despite the blood running down his face, he smiled. That same smile she had seen in the auction hall. The smile of someone who refused to break, because that is what humans do, he said. Our people. The words hit Yuna harder than any weapon could. He had said our people. He included her crew. He included her. After only a few weeks, after everything he had suffered at the hands of aliens, he still found it in himself to call them his people. Yuna did not understand humans. She was not sure she ever would, but in that moment, she knew she would do anything to protect this one. The battle ended an hour later. The pirates were defeated. Many were killed. The rest fled. Yuna's ship was damaged but still flying. They lost 4 crew members. Soren would live, thanks to Teho. Word spread quickly through the ship. The human had fought. The human had saved one of their own. The looks Teho received from the crew began to change. Less suspicion. More respect. Commander Hyun came to Yuna that night while she was getting her shoulder wound treated. The crew is talking again, he said. What are they saying? They are saying that maybe the human is not so useless after all. Yuna almost smiled. Almost. Later, she visited Teho in the medical bay. His leg was wrapped. His face was bruised. But he was alive. That was very stupid, she said. You said that already. I am saying it again. Teho laughed. It was a small sound, weak and rough. But it was real. I do not regret it, he said. Soren has a family. He told me once. A wife and 2 children. Waiting for him back home. Yuna sat down beside his bed. You could have died. Maybe. Teho looked at her. But I would have died fighting. Died free. That matters to humans. That matters to me. Teho. Died live. Teho. Looked at. Died live. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. You are strange, she said. All of you humans. You are small. You are fragile. You live such short lives. But you burn so brightly. Teho squeezed her hand. Maybe that is why we burn so bright. Because we know how little time we have. Yuna held his hand through the night. She did not let go until the morning came. 2 months had passed since the pirate attack. Teho's leg had healed. His body was stronger now. He ate regular meals. He slept in his bed instead of the floor. He even walked through the ship without fear. But every night, he still thought about June. Yuna had kept her promise. She had been searching, using old contacts from her military days, calling in favors, sending messages to information brokers in dark corners of the galaxy. Slowly, piece by piece, she was building a map of the trafficking network that had taken Taeho's sister. One evening, she called him to the bridge. "I found something," she said. Taeho stood beside her at the main console. His heart was beating so hard he could feel it in his throat. "Tell me. Tell me." Yuna pulled up a holographic display. It showed a complex web of connections. Names, locations, ships, money transfers. "The network that sold you operates across 15 star systems," she explained. "They take captives from raids and distribute them to buyers throughout the region. Your sister was sold separately from you. She was taken to a place called Station Corinth." "Where is that?" "A trading hub in the outer systems. Neutral territory. Many illegal things happen there." Yuna pointed to a node on the web. From Station Corinth, she was sold again. The buyer was a mining consortium called the Yeren Group. Taeho's blood went cold. He had heard of mining consortiums. Everyone in the slave markets had heard of them. They were the worst fate a captive could face. Dangerous work. No rest. No mercy. Most workers died within 2 years. "Is she?" "I do not know," Yuna said honestly. "The records are 6 months old. That is the most recent information I could find. But the Yeren Group keeps their workers until they cannot work anymore. If she was alive 6 months ago, there is a chance she is still alive now." Taeho gripped the edge of the console. His knuckles turned white. "Where is the mining operation?" "A moon called Velos 7. In the Kirin system. It is deep in neutral space, far from any law or protection. Then we go there." Yuna shook her head slowly. "It is not that simple. The Yeren Group has private security, armed guards, defense systems. We cannot simply fly in and take her." "Lev, then what do we do?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she made a decision that would change everything. "We go anyway. But first, we need information. The mining operation is large. Hundreds of workers. We need to know where they keep the humans. What the security looks like. How to get in and out. How do we get that information?" "There is a supply station that serves the Yeren Group. They keep records there. Worker manifests. Security schedules. Everything we need." "Well, the turn de Visitold. A very teen as again. The turn de Visitold. When the Kalanis, where they were gone. When the Wan to. A lever the teen. Gone to now." Taeho understood. "We break in." "Yes. I am coming with you." Yuna looked at him. He was still thin. Still recovering. He had no military training. No combat experience beyond that one desperate fight with the pirate. But she saw the fire in his eyes. The same fire she had seen in the auction hall. "It will be dangerous," she warned. "I know. You could die. I know. Why do you insist on this?" Taeho met her gaze. "Because she is my sister. Because I promised our mother I would protect her. Because if I sit here and do nothing while she suffers, I will never be able to live with myself." Yuna nodded slowly. She understood that kind of determination. It was rare among her people. But she recognized it when she saw it. "Very well. But you will follow my orders. You will do exactly what I say. If I tell you to run, you run. Understood?" "Very well. Understood?" "Understood." The supply station was 3 days away. They used the time to prepare. Yuna taught Taeho how to use a weapon. He was not strong enough for the heavy plasma rifles, but he learned to handle a small pistol. His aim was poor at first. After 2 days of practice, it was acceptable. She taught him how to move quietly, how to hide, how to communicate with hand signals. He learned fast, faster than she expected. "Humans are adaptable," she observed one evening during training. "We have to be," Taeho replied. When they reached the supply station, they left the ship hidden in an asteroid field and took a small shuttle to approach. Just Yuna, Taeho, and 2 of her best fighters. A small team for a quiet mission. The station was old and poorly maintained. Security was light. Most of the guards were bored and careless. Yuna had seen worse. They cut through a service hatch and entered the lower levels. The corridors were dark and filled with steam from old pipes. Yuna led the way with her pistol ready. Taeho stayed close behind her. They found the records room without trouble. Yuna connected a device to the main computer and began downloading files. Worker lists. Security rotations. Maps of the mining facility on Velos 7. I found her. Taeho whispered. He was staring at a screen. A list of names. Human names. And there, near the bottom, Jiun. Worker ID. H. 7734. Status. Active. Assignment. Tunnel Section C. Active. She was still active. Still alive. Taeho's hands trembled. Tears formed in his eyes but did not fall. She is alive, he breathed. Yuna. She is alive. Yuna placed her hand on his shoulder. Then we will bring her home. An alarm screamed. Red lights flooded the corridor. Someone had discovered them. Move, Yuna commanded. They ran. Guards appeared from side passages. Yuna fired and did not stop moving. Her 2 fighters covered the rear. Taeho stayed between them, his small pistol in his hand. A guard stepped into their path. Taeho did not hesitate. He raised his weapon and fired. The shot hit the guard in the leg. The guard fell, and they ran past. They reached the shuttle with seconds to spare. The doors sealed behind them. Yuna pushed the engines to maximum, and they rocketed away from the station. When they were safely in open space, Taeho finally let himself breathe. I shot someone, he said quietly. He looked at his hands. They were still shaking. You survived, Yuna replied. That is what matters. I have never hurt anyone before. Yuna turned to face him. Her golden eyes were soft in a way that would have shocked her crew. The universe is cruel, she said. Sometimes good people must do hard things to protect those they love. You did what was necessary. There is no shame in that. Taeho looked at her. Then he did something that surprised them both. He took her hand. His fingers were warm against her cool scales, small and fragile against her strong grip. Thank you, he said. For everything. For believing she was alive. For helping me. For not giving up. Yuna looked at their joined hands. She did not understand the feeling that spread through her chest. It was warm. Strange. Not unpleasant. We are not finished yet, she said. We still have to get her out. Taeho squeezed her hand. We will. Together. Together. The word hung in the air between them. A promise. A bond. Yuna did not pull her hand away. The journey to Velos 7 would take 3 weeks. 3 weeks of traveling through empty space. 3 weeks of waiting and planning. 3 weeks for Yuna and Taeho to discover something unexpected. It started with small things. Taeho noticed that Yuna always ate alone in her quarters. He started bringing his meals to her door and asking if he could join her. At first, she refused. Valari did not share meals. It was not their custom, but Taeho kept asking. And eventually, Yuna said yes. They sat together in her quarters, eating in silence at first. Then Taeho started talking. He told her about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests, about cities full of millions of humans living together, about music and art and stories. We have this tradition called cooking, he said one evening. Preparing food is considered an art. Families pass down recipes for generations. Yuna looked at her standard military rations. This is not cooked. It is processed nutrition. I know. It tastes like sadness. Taeho smiled. If we had a proper kitchen, I could show you. My mother taught me to make something called kimchi stew. It is warm and spicy, perfect for cold nights. We do not have a kitchen. I know, he shrugged. Someday. The word implied a future. A future where they were still together. Yuna found herself wanting that future. She began teaching him things in return. Valari history. The wars they had fought. The empire they had built. She told him about her own childhood. Something she had never shared with anyone. My parents died when I was young, she said one night. They were sitting on the observation deck, watching the stars slide past. A disease took them. I was raised by the military academy. I learned to fight before I learned anything else. I am sorry, Tejo said softly. Do not be. It made me strong. Strong, yes. But also lonely. Yuna looked at him. How do you know that? Because I recognize the look in your eyes. Tejo met her gaze. She did not deny it. There was no point. He saw through her in ways that no one else ever had. Humans are strange, she said. You see things others miss. We have to. We are small and weak compared to most species. We survive by understanding others, by connecting, by building relationships. Your people conquered nothing. Built no empire. No. We built something else instead. What? Tejo thought for a moment. Families. Communities. Stories that last for thousands of years. Art that makes people cry. Music that makes people dance. We do not conquer the universe. We fill it with meaning. Yuna was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I think I understand why I saved you that day at the auction. Why? Because I looked at you and saw everything my people have lost. Everything we gave up to build our empire. Emotion. Connection. The ability to feel. She turned to face him fully. You reminded me that I am more than just a soldier. More than just a Valari. I am a person who wants something. What do you want? The question hung in the air. Dangerous. Honest. I do not know yet, Yuna admitted. But I am beginning to think you might be part of the answer. Tejo reached out and took her hand. It had become natural now. The warmth of his skin against her scales. The connection between them. Then let us find out together, he said. The crew watched the change with confusion and wonder. Their cold, distant captain smiled now. She laughed at the human's jokes. She spent hours talking with him, instead of working alone in her quarters. Commander Hyun approached her one evening with concern in his eyes. Captain, may I speak freely? Always, Hyun. The crew is worried. Your attachment to the human. He hesitated. If command discovers this, they will not be pleased. Relationships between Valari and other species are forbidden. If they learn what you have done, they will learn nothing. Yuna's voice was calm but firm. And even if they do, I no longer care. Captain Hyun, I have given my entire life to the Empire. I have fought their wars, killed their enemies, followed their rules, and what have I received in return? Emptiness, loneliness, a life with no meaning beyond the next mission. She looked toward the observation deck where Tejo was watching the stars. He showed me something different. A way of living that is not about conquest or duty. A way of being that includes connection, joy, love. Hyun's eyes widened. Love? Captain? Do you mean? I mean exactly what I said. Yuna's expression softened. I do not fully understand it yet. This feeling is new to me, but I know that I would rather be a wanted criminal with him than a decorated officer without him. Hyun was silent. Then, slowly, he nodded. Then the crew will follow you, wherever you go, even into exile? Even into exile. You have earned our loyalty, Captain. Not because of your rank, but because of who you are. Yuna felt something warm spread through her chest. Gratitude. Another feeling she was still learning to name. That night, she found Tejo alone on the observation deck. She sat beside him, without speaking. They watched the stars together. After a long silence, Taeho said, "I heard what you told Hyun." Yuna stiffened. "You were listening?" The door was open. "I did not mean to eavesdrop." She waited for his reaction. Instead, he smiled. "You said love." "I did. Did you mean it?" Yuna turned to face him. Her golden eyes met his dark ones. Two people from different worlds, different species, different everything, but somehow, impossibly, the same. "I do not know what love feels like," she admitted. "My people do not have a word for it. We have duty, loyalty, respect, but not this. Not what I feel when I am with you." "What do you feel?" She searched for the right words. "Warmth, fear, joy, a desire to protect you, a need to be near you, an ache when you are not beside me." She paused. "Is that love?" Taeho's eyes glistened. "Yes, that is exactly what love is." He reached out and touched her face. His fingers were gentle against her scales. She leaned into the touch. "I love you too," he said softly. "I think I have loved you since you removed my chains. Since you gave me a room with a lock on the inside. Since you looked at me and saw a person instead of property." Yuna closed her eyes. The feeling in her chest was overwhelming. She did not have words for it. She did not need them. "We still have to rescue your sister," she said. "I know. It will be dangerous. I know. I might not survive." Taeho took both her hands in his. "Then we will face that together. Whatever happens. Together." Yuna opened her eyes and looked at him. This small, fragile human who had taught her what it meant to feel, what it meant to love. Together. She agreed. Outside the window, the stars continued their endless journey through the darkness. And somewhere ahead, on a moon called Velos 7, a young woman named Jiun waited for rescue. They were coming for her. Velos 7 was ugly. A dead moon, covered in gray dust and jagged rocks. No atmosphere. No life. Just endless tunnels drilled deep into the stone where slaves worked until they died. Yuna's ship hid behind a nearby asteroid while they studied the mining facility. The security was worse than expected. Guard towers, patrol ships, armed soldiers everywhere. "This will not be easy," Commander Hyun said grimly. Yuna studied the holographic map they had stolen from the supply station. The facility was huge. Dozens of tunnel sections. Hundreds of workers. And Jiun was somewhere in Section C. "We cannot fight our way through," she said. "There are too many guards." Taeho leaned over the map. His eyes searched for any weakness, any opportunity. "What about the supply ships?" he asked. "They must deliver food and equipment regularly." Hyun pulled up the schedule. "A supply ship arrives tomorrow morning. It docks at the main loading bay, stays for 2 hours, then leaves. Can we get on that ship?" Yuna understood immediately. "We intercept the supply ship. Take control quietly. Use it to enter the facility. Find Jiun. Get out before anyone notices." It was risky. 1,000 things could go wrong. But it was their best chance. They spent the night preparing. Yuna selected a small team. Herself, Taeho, Hyun, and 3 of her best fighters. 6 people against an army. "You should stay on the ship," Yuna told Taeho as they suited up. "You are not trained for this. She is my sister, and you will be no good to her if you are dead." Taeho grabbed her arm. His grip was strong. Stronger than it had been months ago. "I am going," he said. "I have to. Not because I am brave. Not because I want to fight. But because if I stay behind and something happens to you, I will never forgive myself." Yuna looked into his eyes. She saw the fear there. The love. The determination. "Stay close to me," she said finally. "Do not do anything foolish." "I will try." They intercepted the supply ship without trouble. The crew was small and surrendered quickly. Yuna locked them in a cargo container and took control. The flight to Velos 7 was tense. Every moment, Tejo expected alarms, attacks, discovery. But the disguise worked. The facility's traffic control cleared them for landing without suspicion. The loading bay was chaos. Workers unloading crates, guards patrolling, machines moving supplies. Perfect cover for a small team. They moved quickly. Yuna led the way, her movements precise and silent. Tejo followed close behind, his heart pounding so loud he was sure everyone could hear it. The tunnels were worse than he had imagined. Dark, cold, the walls were rough stone. The air was thick with dust. They passed workers shuffling in chains. Humans. Aliens. All of them thin and exhausted. None of them looked up. Tejo wanted to save all of them. He wanted to break every chain and set every slave free, but he could not. Not today. Today, he could only save one. Section C was deep underground. The team moved through maintenance corridors to avoid patrols. Twice they had to hide while guards passed. Once, Hyun had to quietly kill a guard who got too close. They found the worker barracks at the end of a long tunnel. Rows of metal bunks. Bodies lying motionless. The smell was terrible. Tejo moved through the rows, searching faces, looking for his sister. Many of the workers did not even stir as he passed. They were too tired, too broken. Then he saw her. She was lying on a bottom bunk near the wall. Her hair was short now, cut roughly. Her face was thin. Her arms were covered in scars from the mining work. But it was her, June, his little sister. June, he whispered. He knelt beside her bunk and touched her shoulder. June, wake up. It is me. It is Tejo. Her eyes opened slowly. They were dull at first, lifeless. Then, recognition flickered through them. Tejo? Her voice was barely a whisper, cracked from lack of water. Tejo, is that really you? Tears streamed down his face. It is me. I came for you. I promised I would find you. Jiun reached up with trembling hands. She touched his face, felt that he was real. Then she collapsed into his arms, sobbing. I thought you were dead, she cried. They told me you were dead. They lied. Tejo held her tight. I am here, and I am taking you home. Yuna appeared beside them. We need to move. The guards will change shifts soon. Tejo helped Jiun stand. She was weak. Her legs barely held her weight. He put her arm over his shoulder and half carried her. They moved back through the tunnels. Slower now. Jiun could not run. Every step was a struggle. They were almost to the loading bay when everything went wrong. An alarm screamed through the facility. Red lights flooded the corridors. A voice boomed from speakers everywhere. Security breach. All guards to the loading bay. Repeat. Security breach. They found the supply ship crew, Hyun growled. We are out of time. Yuna made a quick decision. New plan. We fight our way out. The loading bay was a war zone. Guards poured in from every entrance. Yuna's team opened fire. Plasma bolts lit up the darkness. Bodies fell on both sides. Tejo stayed behind a cargo container with Jiun. He held his pistol ready, but his hands were shaking. He had to protect her. That was all that mattered. A guard found them. He raised his weapon. Tejo fired first. The guard went down. Another guard, another shot. Tejo did not think. He just acted. Then something hit him from behind. Pain exploded through his shoulder. He spun and saw a guard standing over him, weapon raised for a killing blow. The plasma bolt took the guard in the chest. Yuna stood behind him, her pistol smoking. Move, she shouted. The ship is ready. Tejo grabbed Jiun and ran. His shoulder was bleeding. Every step sent agony through his body. But he did not stop. They reached the ship. Hyun was already at the controls. The engines roared to life. More guards came. Yuna stood at the boarding ramp, firing to keep them back. A shot hit her leg. She fell to one knee, but kept shooting. Taeho set Jiun down and ran back. "What are you doing?" He grabbed her arm and pulled her up. Half dragging, half carrying, he got her onto the ship. "I told you," he gasped. "We do not abandon our people." The ramp closed. The ship launched into the sky. Behind them, the mining facility shrank to a tiny dot. Then, nothing. They had done it. In the cargo bay, Taeho sat with his back against the wall. Jun was asleep beside him, wrapped in a warm blanket. Alive. Safe. Yuna limped over and sat down next to him. Her leg was wrapped in bandages. Blue blood stained her uniform. "You saved me," she said quietly. "Again. We are even now," she almost smiled. "Hardly." Taeho looked at his sister's sleeping face. Peaceful. For the first time in years, peaceful. "Thank you," he said. "For everything. For believing. For fighting. For not giving up." When everyone said it was impossible, Yuna reached over and took his hand. Their fingers intertwined. Warm skin against cool scales. "I would do it again," she said. 1,000 times. Taeho leaned his head against her shoulder. Exhausted, wounded, happy. "I know," he whispered. The stars stretched out before them as they flew toward freedom. The ship was different now. Fuller. Warmer. Alive in ways it had never been before. Ji-yoon had recovered slowly. The first weeks were hard. Nightmares. Panic attacks. Days when she could not get out of bed. But Taeho was always there. And so was Yuna. And eventually, the darkness began to fade. She was strong now. Not the same as before. The mines had changed her. But strong in new ways. She worked in the communications room, translating messages and monitoring signals. She had learned to laugh again. The crew had changed too. What was once a group of strangers had become something else. A family. They ate meals together, told stories, celebrated small victories. Commander Hyun had officially resigned his military commission to stay with Yuna. So had most of the crew. There were warrants for their arrest in 3 Valari systems. They did not care. Yuna stood on the bridge, looking at the navigation charts. They were planning a route into the deep unknown. Beyond Valari space. Beyond any empire. A place where they could build something new. Taeho came to stand beside her. He moved differently now. In his place stood a man who had faced his demons and won. "Where are we going?" he asked. "I do not know yet." Yuna traced a line through unexplored space. "There are rumors of free colonies out there. Places where people live without empires or chains. I thought we might find them. And then?" She turned to look at him. "And then we decide what comes next. Together." Taeho smiled. That same smile she had first seen in the auction hall. But brighter now. Warmer. Full of life instead of defiance. "I like that plan." They stood together in comfortable silence. The stars moved slowly past the windows. Endless. Unknown. Beautiful. After a while, Taeho spoke again. "Do you remember what you said that night? On the observation deck?" Yuna knew exactly what he meant. "I said I did not know what love felt like. Do you know now?" She considered the question carefully. In the past 6 months, she had learned so many new things. How to laugh. How to cry. How to hold someone without reason. How to miss someone when they were not there. "Yes," she said finally. "I think I do." Taeho turned to face her fully. "Then, tell me." She met his eyes. Dark brown against golden. Human against Valari. 2 people who should never have found each other. Love is waking up and wanting to see your face first. Love is worrying when you are in danger. Love is feeling complete when you are beside me, and empty when you are not. She paused. Love is choosing someone every day. Not because you have to. Because you want to. And you choose me? Every day. She touched his face gently. I will choose you every day. For the rest of my life. Ringal. Teho took her hand and pressed it against his heart. She could feel it beating. Fast. Alive. You bought me from chains, he said softly. But you never treated me like property. You set me free. You helped me find my sister. You gave me a home. A family. A reason to live. And what am I to you? She asked. The question hung between them. The same question she had asked herself so many times. Teho thought about everything they had been through. The auction. The silence. The pirate attack. The search. The rescue. All the moments in between. The meals shared. The conversations in the dark. The way her hand felt in his. You are everything, he said. You are my captain. My protector. My best friend. The person I want to see first when I wake up. And last before I sleep. He stepped closer. They were inches apart now. You are mine, he said. Not because you own me. Because I chose to stay. Because I fought beside you. Because I love you. Yuna felt something release in her chest, something she had been holding on to for so long she had forgotten it was there. Fear. Doubt. The belief that she would always be alone. It all melted away. Then I am yours, she replied. And you are mine. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his, a Valari gesture of deep connection. Her eyes closed. Teho understood. He had learned so much about her culture over the months. He knew what this meant. He closed his eyes too. They stood like that for a long moment. 2 heartbeats. 2 breaths. 2 souls. Finding home. Jiyun found them there an hour later. She stood in the doorway of the bridge, watching her brother and the alien captain standing together. Hands clasped. Foreheads touching. She smiled. Should I come back later? She asked. Teho laughed and pulled away. No, come in. Jiyun walked over and stood beside them. She looked out at the stars. So this is our life now? She asked. Fugitives running from empire. Traveling into the unknown. No home. No certainty. Does that bother you? Yuna asked. June thought about it. About the chains. The mines. The years of suffering. Then she looked at her brother. At the crew that had become her family. At the stars that promised endless possibility. No, she said. This is better. This is freedom. Teho put his arm around her shoulders. Yuna stood on his other side. The 3 of them looked out at the universe together. Behind them, the bridge doors opened. Hyun entered with Sorin and 2 other crew members. They came to stand with their captain. The course is set, Hyun reported. We can leave whenever you give the order. Yuna looked at her crew. Her family. The humans and aliens who had chosen to follow her into exile. Who had given up everything for this strange, impossible journey. Set the course, she said. Let us see what is out there. The ship hummed to life. The engines glowed bright. They moved forward into the darkness, leaving behind everything they had known. Ahead was the unknown, danger, adventure, a new beginning. Teho reached for Yuna's hand. She took it without hesitation. Ready? He asked. She looked at him, at the man who had taught her how to feel, how to love, how to be more than just a soldier. With you? She said. Always. The stars stretched out before them. Endless. Unknown. Full. Of possibility. And together, they flew toward the future. The end.